F.P.Journe is probably one of the most controversial watch brands. Whether it's influencers sharing rumors about F.P.Journe's character, or talks about reliability and servicing issues, there's been a lot of discussion amongst collectors about the brand. The most interesting topic is perhaps the legacy of Watchbox's manipulation of the Journe market, which has had lasting effects until today. Today I'll be talking about a few topics, including the reliability issue, pricing and availability of F.P.Journe watches, and sharing why I think Journe might be the best watch brand out there currently. Let's jump into it. The most fun and controversial topic to talk about is pricing and availability. As someone that helped start up a grey watch platform called Legacy Watch Co., it's also the topic that I have the most data points for. Before you think that I have some hidden motive for making this video because I'm involved with Legacy, no, I don't. We don't currently have any Journes in stock at time of recording, as they've all been sold and the last one is already reserved. People don't understand that for dealers like us that do a lot of consignment and take in less stock, at least for now, market prices don't matter too much. Anyways, the best starting point is indeed Watchbox. To put it simply, they were able to corner the Journe market and effectively raise market pricing for the brand. Some call it market manipulation, and maybe it is. But beyond that, I do admire their ability to make such a move. I think we've seen other attempts to do this, but there are very few cases with such widespread success and long-lasting effects. Maybe the push for Rexept's watches is another, but I imagine it's much harder to pull off something like this when the supply involved is much higher. Ultimately, Journe is probably the brand with the most references that trade above retail, at least as far as high-end dress watches go. Of course, you also get the hype pieces like the Black Elegante, which we sold at over 2 times retail, something that still blows my mind for a time-only quartz watch. Things like the CB have also retained a fairly hefty premium and show very stable pricing compared to other hype watches. What's most impressive is the fact that something like a RQ can go above retail. This reference in platinum retails for 230,000 Sing dollars, and we sold it recently for a hefty premium even when used. There are effectively no non-limited edition watches in this price range from Patek, VC, or Lange that will move so quickly at premium. At the end of the day, Journe is probably one of the most liquid brands with some of the best price performance. This has of course led to retail demand rising, and naturally an increase in complaints from collectors about things like the attitudes of Journe's boutique salespeople. Personally, I'm a neutral bystander that has talked to a lot of Journe collectors, so my point of view is a bit different. There is no successful brand that can go complaint-free, as it's not possible for a business to please every single customer. What I'm impressed by is Journe's ability to handle the hype. The brand has continued to treat its loyal customers extremely well from what I've heard, giving them annual watch allocations. In return, you seldomly see Journe customers selling their pieces, at least relative to what you see with other brands, which is something that also helps with market pricing. If you compare Journe with any Richemont brand as an example, I think the end results speak for themselves. Overall, it seems hard to get your foot in the door at a Journe boutique, but once you do, it does seem to be a very rewarding experience. Even if you choose to buy grey, I think Journe is currently the best brand to buy. Pricing and availability is of course the most fun topic to talk about. But ultimately, I think watch reliability and servicing is actually the single most important thing when it comes to purchasing and owning a luxury watch. Many people take this for granted and think that when you spend 6 or even 7 figures on a watch, reliability is guaranteed. Yet, having dealt with everything from broken crowns to Lange's servicing where they removed the moon phase and forgot to put it back in, I can say reliability and servicing is the most important factor. Journe is an interesting brand, since I've heard a lot of anecdotes from collectors about things going wrong. One collector was telling me about how his Journe vertical tourbillon arrived broken from new, and how getting it serviced was such a pain that he just sold the watch instead. There's also a running joke with some collectors that Journe complications are amazing on paper, but never work. It's hard to give a perfect, decisive answer when it comes to a brand's reliability and servicing. I think Patek is best in class for servicing, but there will always be one or two people out there with negative experiences. Again, I'm more of a bystander since I don't own any Journes myself. That being said, I've handled a lot of them, ranging from the simple Elegante to things like the Repetition Sovereign, Vagabondage 3, and Resonance. I've also talked to many Journe collectors about their experience. Personally, none of the Journes I've handled have had any issues. This applies to even the Vagabondage 3, where the 1 second remontoire and jumping seconds led many to speculate that the watch would have poor reliability. But the one I wore for a month had zero issues and had already seen extensive wear. Collectors I've talked to also generally don't have many problems with their watches. The servicing side seems to be more of a mixed bag. I've heard of amazing stories, like François Journe himself making a small fix to a watch over the course of a day and handing it straight back to the collector. But I've also heard of things going wrong. If anything, I currently feel that the rumors of Journe's poor reliability are slightly overblown. But who knows? This may change over time depending on the people I meet. At the very least, the watches I've handled have all functioned without issue. The final topic that I want to discuss is Journe's watches, and what makes them so special. For me, there are a few things that Journe does extremely well. First off is the recognizable and charming design language. Look at almost any Journe from a distance and you can immediately recognize that it's a Journe. The second is the ability to pack exciting complications into wearable packages. The Vagabondage 3 is probably the best example of this, where you get a jumping seconds, 1 second remontoire, and more power reserve than a Zeitwerk in a significantly smaller and thinner package. I mean, it jumps 60 more times than a Zeitwerk and comes in this form factor. With how much Lange has bragged about its Zeitwerk, doesn't that make Journe the Einstein of the watchmaking world? Finally, there's the aspirational factor of Journe. When I think of watches to aspire to, something like the Resonance is one of the first watches that jumps to mind. The F.P.Journe brand just has so many grail-worthy watches that are extremely desirable and collectible. I'm sure part of this is a result of hype and pricing, but I think there's no running from that. More importantly, when you look at the impressive selection of watches from all parts of the price range, Journe is undeniably impressive. From entry pieces like the CB to high-end ones like the Repetition Sovereign, these watches just make you go wow in a way that few other dress pieces do. For an independent brand that is much younger than the likes of Patek, I think Journe has done very, very well. If you have any thoughts on F.P.Journe, feel free to share them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and subscribe. The support makes a big difference. Thank you for watching.